That
messed me
I
up.
always think that's interesting. Like, were you afraid of failing? Are you afraid of failing at things? Because why would you have not? If you
I
were
just
like
knew I
one of
wasn't
the
going to make
best
it.
kids in the school, why would you move to a new place and not even try?
I wasn't one of the best.
I thought you
I
said
was one
you-
of the best when I was young,
Oh.
and then everybody else grew, and I didn't, and then I became timid. And you're not going to show up and play football when I was a lineman, for gosh sakes, a linebacker and lineman, and now I'm this tiny little kid.
Yeah.
I don't know how to be a running back. I don't have
Yeah.
the skills to be a running back.
Okay.
So that's the story.
I know sports and competitiveness are a big part of your life. Tell us where that all began.
I mentioned this earlier when we moved from Pittsburgh to Hazleton that I was a runt. Typical sort of English Irish boy. Everybody else has grown up, and all the Italian kids are fully grown by the time they're 14 and a half. And I didn't even get a hint of puberty until I was like 17 and a half, maybe 18. I still grew an inch or so in college. So in Pittsburgh, as a kid, in soccer, football, basketball. I played those three sports. I played tons of baseball, but in the backyard. Baseball was a little more expensive, so I couldn't play all of them. I ended up playing baseball a little later. But when I moved, I was a tiny kid. So part of it was probably fear, and the other part was I just wasn't good enough. That I was good when I was little because I was one of the bigger kids. And then as everybody else passed me up, 5th and 6th grade, the other kids start growing, and I'm still the same size I was when I was in 4th grade. Everybody else is taking off, and I became sort of a runt, if you will. So when I moved in '93, like I said, I think I tried out I showed up it wasn't even tryouts, but it was like the workout for the basketball team. And I look here, I'm like, there's like 200 kids here. I'm like, I got no shot. I'm slow. I'm small. I can't shoot. I'm terrible. So I just sort of bagged that I didn't come back for I didn't even come back for the for tryouts because I knew there was no way. Only like 10 kids make the team. There was 200 of them there, and so I just didn't play sports. And I love sports. I was super competitive. So what happened is one of the kids in the neighborhood started skateboarding. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I started skateboarding. And then it became like my whole life. Just like everything, all or nothing, right? I'm all or nothing. So now I'm like Mr. Skateboarder, which is kind of weird because I talk about this all the time when I talk about tracking my cars. I'm kind of a pansy. And so while I had other friends just bombing off of stuff, smashing themselves off the ground, I was very controlled, very reserved, very it was unlikely that I was going to go try the 6 stairs. Eventually I got better. I feel like I was sort of technically good at skateboarding. I could do a lot of flat ground tricks and things, but I would never go big. And if I went big, I would always bail. Or I'd have other friends that were not as good, but they would just try it and eventually land it because they weren't afraid like I am. So skateboarding and snowboarding sort of took over my life in high school, and I was a skater kid. This is right when sort of the new school first came out. 93, 94, 95, stuff like that. So right around, I'm skateboarding 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. Now 11th grade, I'm starting to grow a little bit. And I'm starting to feel this sort of inner desire to compete, to play a sport. And I played soccer, growing up, and I played, but I was pretty good at volleyball in gym class. Something about volleyball interested me. And so, I wanted to go play football, I wanted to go play baseball, I wanted to go play basketball, but I knew I wasn't going to make any of those teams because I hadn't been playing, and if I did play, I wasn't, playing competitively. So I knew I could make the basketball team because the volleyball team, because volleyball's for girls, and I was pretty sure I could make the soccer team because they weren't very good at my school, and I did have some skill, and I knew I could sort of get develop that skill. So what I said is the first one, they would make an announcement for your physical, and you have to go and fill out the information. So whatever sport they announced first, I was going to go and try out for. So volleyball got called first, so I went and tried out for volleyball. I didn't know how to play. I just knew in gym class I could hit the ball pretty hard and I could jump high, and I was starting to grow. I was probably maybe 5'7", 5'8", or something like that, maybe 5'9" at the time. And so, but I could jump. Couldn't shoot a basketball to save my life, but I could grab the rim with two hands in high school. And I couldn't dunk because I can't palm the ball, but I could get off the ground. So volleyball was great because you didn't have to palm the ball, you just hit it. So again, all or nothing, I went from not touching a volleyball in my life other than gym class to volleyball all consuming my entire existence. And my best friend Joe, whatever I was into, I sort of sold him and convinced him to come along with me, so he was playing too. So I would have him set me, and we made him a setter, and I'd have him set me over and over and over and over again. And we would play actually in a racquetball court. You could set up a volleyball net, and when he wasn't around, I would bounce the ball and hit. I never worried about passing. I wasn't a very fundamentally sound player, but man, I could destroy the ball, and that's all I cared about, was being the best outside hitter that I could possibly be. So it turned out, so junior year I was okay, and our team was terrible. And then senior year, because I played so much over the summer, I all of a sudden became good, like legitimately good. Now our team was so bad that I very rarely got to be good, because you need a team when you're talking about volleyball. Shanking passes all over the place, and the sets would be horrible. When I did get a good set, I'd destroy the ball. So somehow I got on, because our team we were like 2-15 or something like that. I never really got any exposure and never got to our games would be over so quickly, we'd lose in 3 and go home, that I never really got to showcase my how good, at least as good as I thought I was. So what happened is one of the coaches for the sort of championship team sort of saw me. I played really well against them for the short time that we played them. They pounded us, and he sort of pulled me aside. He said, "Look, you need to be on the sort of the all county or all state or whatever it is. You need to be on the all-star team." And I said, "Well, yeah." He's like, "Do you want to be honest?" "Absolutely." He says, "Well, I'm going to get you on the team because I'm the coach." And so that sort of made sort of the next transition, and that I realized that I could probably play at the next level. I could probably play at college because I was brand new. I was only a year and a half into the sport, and I was making this huge progression. And this kind of hacks me off because I think that I could have been somewhat athletic. I could have played a real sport, an actual guy sport, at some point. And Michelle's giving me the stink eye. But the playing volleyball and playing on the all-star team made me realize I could probably go play somewhere. The problem is volleyball is, because of Title IX and equal guys girls participation, and football teams have a massive amount of scholarships. Basketball kind of balances out, but with football having so many scholarships, a lot of the guys teams don't get Division I or Division II or III. They don't have the capability to do that. So I knew that I was going to try to play Division III or something. The problem is I wanted to be an engineer, and I wanted to go to a good school, and I didn't want to sacrifice my education for volleyball. So I chose where I was going to go to school, and then hoped that they had a club team that I could play on. And it turned out that Villanova had a Division I club, and we would play. We basically built our own team, hired our own coach. The whole thing. I was, after my freshman year, I was sort of in charge of the team. I was sort of the president of the club, and but we would play Division I club. We'd go to nationals, and we were a pretty solid team. And I got better and better and better at what I was good at. I never really got better and better at passing, but I was a Division I hitter and a junior high passer and a defender. So when I graduated, I played a lot. That's how I met my wife. I've told that story before. I was playing tons of volleyball. just playing. I was going to adult nationals. I started playing beach volleyball, and I moved to Orlando. Started playing volleyball like crazy. Still after college, and then it got to a point where, as I got a real job and as a financial advisor, and started, we had a kid, and I started to get to the point where I was, I couldn't jump as high, and I started to sort of regress, and I was always reminiscing about how good I used to be, and so I decided, this was probably about 5 years ago now. When you say it was about 5 years ago, I just decided, you know what, I need to figure out a different sport. I need to figure something else out. And so I've always been sort of competitive. That's part of the reason, that part of what got me the job at the company I work for, because I'd played collegiate volleyball, if you will, even though it was club. It was a competitive. We'd be Division I, Division II teams. We had a great team, and I was the captain of the team. And so, that sort of competitiveness sort of drove me away from volleyball. And occasionally, like we played the other day, but I don't really have a desire. It's like I've been there, done that, played, and I'm done. And Michelle gives me a hard time about that sometimes. But I needed to find something else. And I've always worked out as well. And part of my, back to my sort of growth story, if you will, I went to Villanova. I was 6'1", 170 pounds, something like that. I'd never really actually benched. I'd gone to the gym, but I didn't really know what that meant. For my senior year, I'd gone to the gym. It was more of a hangout than anything. You use the machines and stuff. And so my freshman year in college, part of my 5-year plan was I was going to get jacked, right? And so freshman year, the gyms were closed. They were redesigning the gym, so the first semester. So I ran. I was just running like a maniac, just running 5, 6, 7 miles a day, and training for playing volleyball. And then I started lifting weights, and again, all or nothing. I became a maniac about lifting, and not necessarily bodybuilding, but just lifting in order to improve my volleyball game. And so I started squatting a lot, benching a lot, going twice a day, eating specifically. My meal plan was specifically designed to get me bigger. So I went from 170 going to school to 237. It was 237 pounds. I know that because I just eclipsed that this past month. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But I was 237. I was built like a linebacker. I had abs. I could touch like 11.6, so I could touch the top of the box above the rim. I could easily dunk, and was destroying the volleyball. And so, naturally, I was disappointed in myself, and that how did I know I was going to be built like a linebacker, and be able to actually be a decent athlete. So I've always had this sort of sense of resentment, and that I didn't play college or high school sports, and I probably could have been, maybe not the best, but I certainly could have played. The question is whether I could have been decent or not. And I do thank that I can. That I don't have like high school injuries or anything like that, but I do sort of resent a little bit that I played a girls' sport because I couldn't play anything else because I was skateboarding my life away. So fast forward to about almost 4 years ago now. I'm kind of done playing volleyball. I was playing softball. I was terrible at baseball because I didn't start playing till I was about 13. Everybody else had been playing for like 5 or 6 years. I have like 2 hits in my baseball career. Because again, I started playing in 6th grade when I was tiny. And because of my age, I had to play junior Babe Ruth. And guys were throwing 70, and I'm scared to death. The only 2 hits I have is I probably closed my eyes and stuck the bat out and hit it to right field as a right-hander. So I was playing softball with my buddies as just something different, and then I discovered I was always working out, but I always hated. After college, I just really didn't like working out as much. I would go, I would get big, I would get fat, I would get skinny, I would get fat, I'd go on a crazy diet, again, all or nothing here. And so I was looking for something else. And I'd been reading about CrossFit, and some of you guys that hate CrossFit are probably losing your minds right now. That you know, maybe someone you've been watching videos of, now you know that I'm a CrossFitter and you instantly dismiss me. But let me explain my rationale behind this and why I love it so much. Although I don't necessarily look it right now today. I've got to get, I'm on a fat streak right now. But I would go to the gym. I had hired trainers just to change things up. I'd change programs, 5 sets of 5, do sort of different things. So working out is, ever since freshman year in college, has always been a huge part of my life. I've always made time to do it. It's just a question of whether I was driving by the gym, thinking about it, or I actually went to the gym. 90% of the time I'd go. It was my issue has always been eating too much. So I'm always working out. It's just a question of what is my workout schedule look like. And it had gotten to the point where it was almost like a job, like I didn't like doing it. So now I'm lacking volleyball. I'm playing softball, which I'm not really very good at it, just okay. And really didn't catch that fire for softball like I did with other things. And then I discovered that I was looking for a new fad or a new fitness thing to do. And I knew I wanted to go to CrossFit, but there wasn't anywhere to go. Again, been skinny, been fat, been skinny, been fat. Well, actually, I guess I've never been skinny, but been in shape, out of shape, in shape, out of shape. And I still yo-yo like that. But I just didn't like going. And I'd have to like remotivate myself all the time and reinvent myself and do crazy fad diets and things like that. And again, all or nothing. That's me. So I stumbled upon, I sort of heard about CrossFit, but there wasn't one anywhere near me. So what I started doing in the local gym, I'd read something about something called the 300 workout, which is what the guys did as a test for, it was something like one of the Jim Jones or whatever, the trainer that was training all these guys for the movie 300, created this test, which was 300 consecutive reps for time. It was a specific workout like cleans and pull-ups and thrusters and a lot of things I didn't really even know what they were or how to do them. But then I found there was like James Madison University's strength and conditioning team or coach was they put some videos of some specific workouts. So my buddy and I started doing them at the regular gym. And so you'd set the clock and you'd try to beat your time. And basically I had 3 workouts designed and I would do those 3 workouts over and over and over again. And it was interesting to me because it was something different. I'd gotten some significant results. I didn't lose strength. And so it was very CrossFit-like, but it was sort of what we call the 300 workout. So that's when I started researching CrossFit and then realized that the only one around was like an hour and a half away. And so I couldn't do it. I didn't really know what it meant. I just thought that you'd get a group of people together and you'd do workouts for time. So a few years later, we moved up to where I live now in the rental house. And so I needed to find a new gym. And one of my buddies says, yeah, I think there's one in Ocala, which is the neighboring town. I said, well, that doesn't help because Ocala is like 45 minutes away. And if it's on the north side of Ocala, forget it. So I got online right then and there in my office and searched. And sure enough, there's one and it's in southeast Ocala. So it's closer to my house. It's only maybe 25, 30 minutes away of where we were moving to. So I called them up and I went up to, and they had what was a baseline workout. So, you did rowing, push, or what is it? What is baseline? Baseline is row 500, do 40 squats, 30 sit-ups, 20 push-ups, 10 pull-ups. And I was in decent shape, not in great shape, but in decent shape. So I wasn't at like a peak or a trough, but I was sort of in the middle. And I did okay, and I scored. At the time, they had it scored whether you're intermediate, advanced, or beginner, and I scored right on the edge of intermediate and advanced. And from a cardio perspective, and I knew right from that minute there was another guy that was doing it with me, and I just wanted to beat him. And interesting thing, I've learned this over the years. I'm competitive, but I'm not like type A competitive, where I have to win. I call it type C competitive, where I think I like to feel, forgive me, this is hard to admit, I think I like to feel superior, but if I'm not superior, I'm okay with it. So you know what I'm saying? So it's a kind of an odd combination, I guess. I like that sense of feeling like I won, but I don't need to win. When I do win, I feel like I expected to win. But if I don't, then I'm okay with it. I don't feel great about it, but I'm not all bent out of shape. So again, I call it type C competitive, not type A. So CrossFit works out really well because I've lost this competitive outlet, and basically what it does for me is turns fitness into a sport. And so just like anything, I was all in, paleo 100%, working out as much as I can. Every day, 6-7 days a week. I loved being there. There was never a moment, no matter how hurt or injured or sore or whatever I had going on, I was not missing a day. If I missed a day, I felt like the world was ending. I loved being there. It was sort of a group of people. It was easy for me to develop friendships. And whereas, going to a regular Globo gym, I would just, I wouldn't talk to anybody, go in and do my thing, ask for a spot here or there and go home. It wasn't a cult, there's no culture there. Whereas now there was sort of culture. This was a sort of a group of people that were sweating and hurting themselves together. And that really appealed to me. And so I thought everybody should be doing this. This is the greatest thing ever. And this is part of the reason what happens with people where we get made fun of saying, well, if you're first rule of CrossFit is tell everybody about CrossFit. I now know that it's not for everybody. I've had many friends come, and it's not it's not for every person. You're going to get injured, and that's where it kind of gets a bad rap. As you're gonna hurt your side, hurt my back, and I blew out my knee, but that would have happened at the regular gym. I don't understand why everybody gets all bent out of shape about form. Like anybody has solid form at a regular gym. Give me a break. Doing high intensity sort of athletic training, if you will, you're going to have injuries. And as much as I hate hurting my back or tweaking my elbow or doing something stupid, hurt my neck the other day, it's part of the reality of being a mid-30s guy. What I'm trying to delicately balance when I first started CrossFitting, it was all about it. I'm like, I'm gonna be the best. Then there's the massive ascent. The problem is I'm the wrong body type. It's a small man's game. You want to be like 5'9", 5'8", like 190. So you want to be thick and short. I'm tall and have skinny extremities and have zero gymnastic ability. So some of the handstand push-ups and things I'm just terrible at. I'd say better than average, but not up to the ability that I have in some things where it's just a pure athletic movement. So. Like today we have a workout, it's just pure athletic where you got to run 1,200 meters. What do we got to do? Then push a heavy sled, which I'm good at because I'm heavy and tall. Do some sandbag air squats, do something else, and then run 1,200 squat. I'll do well at that. Or if it was power cleans or squat cleans or something that's just purely athletic, I tend to be pretty decent at. Now I'm on a major down fat streak. I'm about to ramp that up. I've got to do something extreme. You'd think I could just do moderation, but again, this is me all or nothing. I can't. I don't seem to have that ability. It's not that I can't, it's just that I don't. So now I'm going to try to do something crazy and get, I've got a new program that I've designed, still CrossFitting, but if you haven't tried it and you're just bashing it, then whatever. You can say whatever you want. I understand that there's a bunch of fat old ladies and slow, unathletic guys that do it, but what's the difference between that and any other gym? People doing stupid stuff, injuring themselves, dropping bars on themselves. I mean, what's the difference between that and some guy putting 3 plates on a bar and getting it stuck on his chest? I mean, that's part of the workout game. The vast majority of people don't have much athletic ability and aren't any good at it. And that's okay. It used to make me angry when people would get in my way, but now I'm cool with it. I just know that CrossFit really isn't for everybody. People are going to come, they're going to try, they're going to go home. Where I just thought this is the end all be all of fitness, and this is just the way it needs to be. That's not necessarily the case, but I love it. I mean, there's never a point where I don't want to go, even if it's something I'm terrible at, and I'm almost 4 years into it now. And again, I've been ripped, I've been in shape, I've been fast, I've PR'd my mile, I've PR'd my bench press, I've PR'd, and I haven't done a curl in 4 years. So it's one of those things where it just prepares you to be able to do anything. I've done a lot of adventure racing and things like that. I've done a few CrossFit competitions. I won one of them, and it's the difficult thing for me is that delicate balance between all or nothing, and I guess with this would be trying to be like the best or just sucking and quitting. And lately, as I get old, I get hurt more. And then I've been on a horrible eating streak. I'm back to, I beat my 237 for the first time in my life. I think I'm like 239 today. So I've got some serious work to do. I want to be like 205. I mean, 205 to 215 is my ideal weight. A little bit heavier than ripped because I perform better. That's sort of my next little thing. I've been focused too much on cars and this whole obsessed garage concept. So I continue to CrossFit, and I'll go today. I go 5-6 days a week. Again, I struggle with the whole: do I want to be like a regionals or games level athlete, which I know I can't. But do I want to be super strong, or do I want to be worried about injuries? Or so from day to day, I cannot change my opinion. But ultimately, it works for me. And it turns something that is normally looked at as a chore into an absolute blast for me. I can't wait to get there on Saturday morning and figure out what kind of crazy crap we're gonna do, and then you're burying yourself, and it's and you're doing it out of fun almost, rather than out of work. So that's my story on fitness and competitiveness. And sports, and again, I'd look at myself as a sort of a mediocre or sort of average athlete with some above average tendencies. Just like hitting a volleyball, I'm well above average, but passing a volleyball, I'm not very good. So I kind of balance out to an average player. Or if we're doing a workout with power cleans, I'm going to beat everybody. But if we're doing a workout with handstand push-ups, I'm going to lose. So put that together, and you got an average CrossFitter, if you will. Those are my thoughts on that, and why I think that my sort of athletic and competitive career, how it's transpired. And I think that having that competitiveness is important in any kind of industry, any kind of business. It helps me certainly in my sort of sales-oriented, providing advice to people. I mean, people don't come to you for advice. You have to sort of go to them and offer that advice to them. So that competitiveness, I think, is important in any kind of sort of ascent, if you will, in any kind of business that you're building. So that's my story on sports and competitiveness.